Thank you all for being here, those of you here in the room, and we've also got several people watching on Zoom, so welcome. Thank you. My name is Lauren Williams. I'm Adult and Community Services Manager here with the Columbia Public Library, which is part of the Daniel Boone Regional Library System. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn with Jeff Gander from the Missouri Department of Transportation. I know a lot of folks have questions and are excited to be here. We're looking forward to a great presentation. Today's Lunch and Learn, as always, is co-hosted by the Library and the League of Women Voters of Columbia Boone County. We have people, like I said, here in the room, but also online. So a couple Zoom housekeeping items for those of you there. If you want to ask a question, please use the chat feature. There is a drop-down menu. If you would look at that and choose that you want to share your chat with everyone so people other than the moderators can see what questions are being asked. And we'll do our Q&A after the presentation, so we'll hold those questions for the end. For those in the room, I will be walking around. I'm going to date myself. I'll walk around like Phil Donahue, and so the people on Zoom can also hear the questions in the room. We are recording this presentation, so it will be available in the next day or two on both the League of Women Voters YouTube channel as well as the library's YouTube channel. So if you want to share it with your friends or revisit it, you can do that. Now I'd like to welcome Marie Scala of the League of Women Voters of Columbia Boone County to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Lauren. Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone on Zoom. We're fortunate today to have Jeff Gander with us. He is the project director for the Improve I-70 Columbia to Kingdom City segment. And he says, as the project director, he leads the design build project. So that's one thing we're going to have to learn was what that means through procurement as well as during construction. He graduated from Mizzou with a degree in civil engineering, and he's a registered professional engineer in the state of Missouri. He's been with MoDOT for over 30 years, spending the majority of his career in construction before moving into the area of design build, which blurs the line between design and construction. He's been involved with 3 design build projects to date, starting with the Champ Clark Bridge at Louisiana, followed by the Farm Bridge program, and currently the Improve I-70 program. And I know a lot of us are very curious about what's going on with I-70 and 63, and so he's here to explain it to us. So thank you very much, Jeff.
I'm going to go through my presentation. If you could hold your questions till the end.
Unmute yourself. Unmute your microphone.
Oh. I'm not too good with the text sometimes. Yeah, if you can hold your questions till the end, it would probably be easier to answer them all at one time rather than as we go through. But like she said, I'm the project director for the first project on I-70 to make it 3 lanes, which is part of the bigger I-70 program. This is kind of an overview of the program. And like I say, I'm on project 1, we call it, which is Columbia Kingdom City. The blue bubbles are part of the I-70 program, the $2.8 billion that the governor gave to MoDOT out of general revenue to make I-70 3 lanes between Blue Springs and Wentzville. The lighter blue bubbles you see on the end were already jobs that we had planned. So the I-70 Improve I-70 program is actually the 200 miles in between those, and it's represented by the 6 projects you see here. This is a pretty old slide. We've also already done some adjustments on the limits of the projects. The one I'm on is Columbia to Kingdom City. And when I say Columbia, that's just the connector and all the way to Kingdom City and redoing the 54 interchange. The rest of it through Columbia will fall into the Marshall to Columbia. But that's not going to be one project either. That's going to be split into a few different projects as well. Like I say, this was our first shot at it. And that's kind of what we came up with. This is another way you can look at it. The first 3 projects are pretty much set. The first project, obviously, we're already working on that one. The second project is Wentzville and Warrenton, and they have awarded that project, so they will start construction very soon. The third project is Blue Springs to Odessa, and they're well on their way into their procurement on that one. And I think now might be the right time for me to talk about. She mentioned design build a few times. Our normal process is called design bid build, and either MoDOT designs the project or we have a consulting firm design it, and then we put it out for bid, and whoever the low bidder is gets to go build it. It works. It's worked for years and years and years. But on some of these larger corridor projects and even some smaller projects, we use what's called a design build framework. It's a 2-phase procurement. The first thing we do is we say, hey, we've got this project. We want to know who's interested. And at that time, contractors and consulting firms will team up and we put out an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, and they submit SOQs, which is statement of qualifications. And then from those, this is all dictated by state statute. We shortlist between 2 and 5 teams. And like I say, a team is usually 1 or 2 contractors and 1 or 2 design firms. And we shortlist them, and then we work with them for a few months, and they develop a proposal. So instead of us fully designing it and saying, this is what you're going to build, they have a chance to use innovation and come up with better plans and different ways of doing things. And a lot of times when we do that, it's called fixed price variable scope. So like on the Columbia Kingdom City project, we knew about what it would cost to do what we would do if we were designing it. So we said, here's $405 million. Spend it how you see fit, and you have to do, there's a few things in there you have to do. You have to redo the interchange at Columbia, you have to redo the one at 54, and you have to give us a third lane. But we left a lot of the details wide open on how they did that, as far as their pavement designs and how much we weren't sure that we had enough money to do full pavement replacement through that whole area for 405. But turns out that's what we got. But anyway, back to the design build. So we say, here's 405 million, give us your best proposal. And we meet with them over probably 2 months to 3 months. And they bounce ideas off of us. We say, yeah, we like that. That would score pretty good. No, we don't really like that. That's not very good. And at the end, they submit us a proposal. And then we spend about a week or 2 weeks grading those proposals. And we pick what we call the best value proposal. So we've already been through all that for this project. We had 2 teams that pursued it. The one that was chosen as the best value proposal is Millstone Rubber, which is a contractor out of St. Louis. They've been around forever and ever. And Jacobs Engineering is who actually designed it. So I just wanted to get to, we mentioned the design build, so that's how we are doing this project. So we're at a fixed price of $405 million unless we change something. But you know, if they hit a bad spot out there where they have to do a bunch of over excavation and put rock in there, that's all on the team. So they're all in for 405 million. So anyway, this kind of just as a table shows you where the projects are. Like I say, the first 3 are pretty much set. The rest of them that are all in the 4s, those we're still working at it and trying to figure out the best way to go about those. One other thing that I will mention, well, I think the next slide might mention it. Nope, not that one. I kind of went through. Eric Kapinski is the program director, so he's over the whole 200 miles. I am the project director for the first project, and when we do Marshall to Columbia, that would be under my team as well. There's basically 3 of us. On the eastern portion, Kim Trainer is doing Wentzville, Warrenton, and on the other side of the state, Carly Covington is doing the west portion. So, and the rest of the people down here, I'm not going to go through them all, but those people work on the program as a whole. Whereas me and my team, we're pretty much right now laser focused on project 1. Once we get it farther down the line and we start worrying about Marshall to Columbia, then we'll work on that too. But right now we have plenty to do with just project 1. So Columbia to Kingdom City, some places that I speak, they're not as familiar as you all probably are. But it's a 20-mile section of I-70 between 63 and 54. They have to add a third lane both directions. And of course, we are reconstructing the interchanges at 63 and 54. This is just graphically, since we're in Columbia, you all know exactly where we're talking about. This kind of shows you where we're at and where we have been and where we're at now. On the left side of the picture, that's what it looked like in 1968. As you can see, 63 didn't even come through this area at that time. And then on the right side of the screen, you can see that a lot of changes happened in that area. They brought 63 in here, and at some point in time, they bypassed it. I believe that was in the early 90s. And all of those things helped, but they didn't really fix the problem. So we're going to take another shot at fixing it, and I think we have a pretty good design. I told you when we go into the design build that we have things that we have to have. We said you have to rebuild the interchange at 63. We also said a couple other things. These 2 movements in the red lines that you see, the northbound to westbound and the eastbound to southbound, mainly the northbound one, but those are the ones that really lock this interchange up and cause all the trouble. So we not only said you have to rebuild the 63 interchange, we said you have to give us direct connections for those 2 movements. And by direct connect, it could be a flyover, it could be a loop ramp, but just basically something where you don't have to go up to a ramp and stop. So that was a requirement that they have to give us direct connects for those 2 movements. There's some other movements that we would have liked direct connects for, but they get really expensive. The one everybody talks about is westbound to southbound. The problem is you end up buying a hotel, maybe part of Cracker Barrel's parking lot, And the bridge to do that has to be on what they call the third level, which is about 80 feet in the air. So it just gets really expensive really quickly. This is the 54 interchange, and it's weird that the geometry of this interchange hasn't changed since 1968. It's still a diamond and looks exactly like it did, with the exception of all the businesses that have developed down there or over there. These are the two movements that really cause it, and they're basically related to lake traffic. Friday afternoons trying to get to the lake, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday trying to come back. We basically don't have enough money to build that kind of an interchange there. So we're going to do some stuff to help those traffic movements. They won't be direct connects though. So I told you a little bit earlier about the design build process, and this is the team that we chose was Millstone Weber as the best value proposal. These are some of the reasons why they were chosen. Obviously, they give us the third lane in each direction. The biggest part of their proposal is they are reconstructing the pavement from one end to the other. The existing lanes will be rubberized in place, and then we're paving 11.5 inches of concrete on top of that. The other proposal had some places where we were just going to do an overlay of the existing lanes. So you'd have a new lane, but then you'd still have the old lanes right there with a 2 or 4 inch overlay on it. So that's probably the biggest difference in the proposals. We also include 16 new structures. When I get into this, you'll see where all these roundabouts go, but it has roundabouts. The 54 interchange is definitely a unique design as well. And they did commit to having 2 lanes on I-70 open during construction. That's during the day. We do have to close lanes at night. There's pretty much just no way around it. But they did commit to not closing lanes on I-70 during the day. And they also had a commitment to growing a diverse workforce as well. So what's it going to look like? This is the rural section. And as you can see, you can't really tell it from the picture, but we have 3 12-foot lanes, a 12-foot outside shoulder, and a 5-foot inside shoulder separated by a type D barrier, which is taller than the barrier you see through here in Columbia. It's 42 inches tall. It's a lot harder for a vehicle to cross it than what we have out there right now. Like I say, you can't see it as well as I'd like in this graphic, but all 3 lanes are brand new. 11 inches of concrete, and that goes all the way from Columbia all the way to Kingdom City. How we're going to do that if you've been through there, you can see what we're doing right now. This is the first phase. We push traffic to the outside, narrow up the lanes, and we basically pave the median. We're working on a 7-mile section right now, and we have the westbound side paved. We paved the inside lane and the inside shoulder. We've spun our paver around, and we're going to go back whatever weather allows this winter, and we're paving the inside lane eastbound and the shoulder for that section. Once we get the median paved, we're going to put the westbound traffic on what we just paved so we can finish out the westbound side. And then we move all the traffic over westbound, kind of where it's going to be eventually, and put eastbound in the median and finish out the eastbound side. Now we're going to talk about the 63 interchange. And like I say, we told them you need to redo it. You need to make it better. And the way to do that is to take traffic off of the connector bridge itself. So that's what the 2 direct connects do. This team took it a little farther and tried to figure out ways they could take even more traffic out of the connector. I don't have anything to do with that. So this graphic, don't get too hung up on it. I'm going to go through each of the pieces as we go through here. But as you'll see, it's a lot different than what we have out there now. The first area I'll talk about is what we call the Hanover roundabout. This is east of the connector. And you can see, I'm sorry that this picture is upside down, but this is the one they submitted. But we're going to build a roundabout on Hanover that has a ramp that comes, let's see if I can do this. A ramp will come from westbound 70 and can come up here and hit this roundabout. It also has a ramp that comes from Clark, and you can get on westbound 70 that way. It also has an underpass of I-70, so you'll be able to get from Clark Lane over to the southeast outer road without going back up through the connector there. I think I pointed the wrong way. One thing I just did want to point out, there are sidewalks associated at this location. The blue line you can see is, the purple line is existing sidewalks. We're going to connect those 2 up. So they're through that underpass, there will also be a sidewalk as well. It has to come under the ramp down here and then continue underneath. The next connection is, and you can see the inset over here, that kind of tells you this is the whole connector. This is where we're at. Hanover, the one we just talked about, was here. I'm going to back up and show you that a little more. For eastbound 70 traffic trying to go north, this is your connection that you'll take. You'll come off, hit this roundabout, go down Clark Lane, and eventually be able to hit 63 North. There's nothing that keeps you from using this to go southbound, but the other roundabout and connection east of the connector is better. It is a little bit adverse travel. The westbound 70 traffic can come in here and it's all free rights and take you right back to the connector where you can go south. Same thing here. There's nothing to keep you from using this one to go north, but it's probably better to take the other one. So what that allows us to do, and I don't know if it shows it very good, it allows us to get rid of these two ramps, the westbound off and on ramps, and replace it with this and this. We can come back to that if you got questions later on. So that's that one. That's this one. This picture is probably the best one that shows our flyover from northbound 63 to westbound 70. You can see it coming in there in this photo as well. There's a little bit going on in this one. The two red lines that I showed you earlier, the two movements that we require direct connections for, that's what you can see here with the red lines. The northbound 63 to westbound 70, nonstop, right through. Same thing from eastbound 63 to eastbound 70 to southbound 63, nonstop ramp going through there. The yellow line is a little bit different. That's what we call a collector distributor road. I'll show a picture of it here in a little bit, but it's basically, you're going to have your 3 through lanes if you're going eastbound. You'll also have 1 or 2 extra lanes out here separated by a barrier wall. And that allows all that traffic that wants to exit to get over there and come back on. It continues all the way through the connector to the east. So it allows a lot of that merging traffic and departing traffic to happen on this slower speed roadway rather than having to try to get into I-70 traffic. You'll get on this road and then it'll all get back on there. This is what it looks like. It's shown as just 1 lane out here, but in quite a bit of it, there's 2 lanes over here. Like I say, you still have your 3 through lanes, but you'll exit over here and then you can get off at the connector. You can hit the southbound 63 connection, and you'll also be able to hit another roundabout that I haven't shown you yet that is way up there. But for now, this slide is showing you the sidewalks. We are building sidewalks across the connector bridge as well, connecting the north to the south. We are still working on this. The city of Columbia wants more sidewalks than what we have planned. So we are working with them to try to come up with a plan to do more. The next roundabout, this one is the business loop roundabout. As you are aware, the westbound ramp to the business loop, we closed that. That was going to get closed no matter what design we used for the 63 interchange. It was mandated that it be closed. If you want to dive into the details, it's a left-hand exit, which is not totally bad because we're building one on this job, but it was left-hand exit with no deceleration lane, and you're going up a hill around a curve. So there's been a lot of crashes at that location. So it was deemed that we needed to get rid of that. That's actually been in the works for about 5 years that was going to go away. So you can see that it's gone. It's not here anymore. But in that area, we're building a roundabout right here near the business loop. And that same CD road comes through here. When you exit on that, you'll be able to come here too and get on the business loop, or get on the roundabout and go to Conley and go to Sam's or wherever you want to go down there. You will also be able to use this to get on eastbound 70 as well. No, this roundabout doesn't do that, and it's not lost on us that I wouldn't say a lot of people, but some people really like that left-hand exit because it fed you right into the business loop. But it was a safety issue, so it had to go away. This is another roundabout we're building. This is Aldi right here. You can't see it obviously, but this is an Aldi. Right now, this is just a standard intersection. We are going to replace that with a roundabout as well. It's just going to make it function a lot better. This route goes up and you end up over here at this triple left-hand turn. We're redoing this as well. Basically, we're getting rid of that triple left-hand, and we're not going to allow you to turn left at all right there. And we're not even going to let you go across right there. What this does for us, it allows you all that signal timing that you need for that triple left-hand turn and the through movement. We can distribute that to other places, and we have a fix for that. Instead of coming down here to go triple left-hand turn or go across, we are building this, which is what you've probably seen we're building right now, which is an underpass of 70 that feeds you directly into the connector. So if you were taking that triple left-hand turn, you can come here and go straight into the connector. And if you were taking that instead of the triple left, you were trying to go across, you can do that same thing here. So that's what we're building right now. Like I say, this is more just trying to take more traffic out of that connector area. This is one of a whole bunch of slides that shows how we're going to build it. I wouldn't even try to look at it. The one thing that I want to tell you is everything you see in blue is going to be complete and open, including the 63 underpass, which you can't see down here. All of that is going to be open before we ever close the bridge. We have to close the bridge to rebuild it. The same way when they looked at this from a design standpoint on how we make the best interchange we can, they looked at that from a construction standpoint too. And providing all these other mobility options takes a lot of traffic off the connector. So it not only carried over from the design, but it carried over into the construction side as well. This is the Route 54 interchange, and we don't really have a name for it. I can't say it's the first one of its kind because there are very similar interchanges. If you're familiar with the 763, what they call the dog bone down below, this functions kind of the same way, except the dog bone is not a dog bone, it's an oval, and it sits up top. It gets rid of all of these signals that were here and here. Another good thing about it, it provides 3 right-hand turns on all 4 legs. So, and another thing is the 2 existing bridges are in the middle right here. So a lot of this work can be built offline. We're going to build everything in the orange before we ever really affect traffic on 54. So the new bridges are built outside of the old bridges, and a lot of this work can take place. I wouldn't say it's just we're going to build it all and then we're just going to open it up, because it's not going to be that simple, but we're going to be able to do a lot of work here before we ever mess with 54 traffic. I'm going to go back and show that one more time. I know there's something I'm forgetting to say here. But like I say, that getting rid of these 2 signals allows us to do a lot better job of managing the traffic. What we had planned here, what we called our preferred alternative, was a diverging diamond, which is what you have at Stadium. And we looked at the traffic 7 ways from Sunday, and 95% of the time this works better, and the other 5% of the time they're tied. So the diverging diamond, it's not a bad design, but for this location and the traffic that we have, if you can imagine going through here anytime other than Friday afternoon or Sunday coming back from the lake, it just works so much better because those 2 stoplights just don't exist. I mean, you slow down and you weave through it and you're on your way. I got a little flyover video that will kind of show all of it. I'll try to talk through it as we go. It's about 3 minutes, I think, but it shows all the different pieces, and the traffic you see is actually from our real-time traffic models showing how traffic will flow. Cars look a little funny since it's a model. But we're starting off at 54. That's what it looks like now, and that's what it looks like in the future. I will mention that we are getting rid of the railroad overpass up here so we can lengthen these ramps out and the acceleration lane and decel lane to help that. They're really short now, but we're able to tear that railroad bridge down. On this leg right here, we're building that longer and wider to allow more storage for that Friday lake traffic. Now the big one. This is what the connector looks like now, and there's too much for me to talk through, but you can see our flyover direct connect there, as well as the other one that comes to the southbound. You see the ramps are gone. It's kind of all you can see. You can see the roundabout up here and the one way up there. That's what the intersection by Aldi looks like at the moment. Like I say, this isn't really a necessity. It just improves it. That's 63 underpass, or where it's going to be. And as you can see, it's a 1-lane, 1-way underpass coming under and just feeding you right into the connector. We also are building it wide enough where we can put a sidewalk through there. There's nothing to tie it to on either side right now, but we feel like somebody will someday, and we didn't want to build it so narrow that couldn't happen. This is the left-hand exit to Business Loop that went away, and it doesn't do anything for westbound, but it does help out traffic for eastbound to be able to get to the loop as well as to Conley. As you can see, the lanes move a lot in this area on where they are and where they go, but that's the roundabout over my socket, basically showing the direct connect coming in, the other direct connect leaving. I know it's a lot to take in, so I'm sure you have questions. Oh, this is the Hanover roundabout. As you can see, we're going right through the middle of it. Lane to get off of 70 to come up to Clark, lane to come from Clark to get on 70, and a 2-way road underneath to come either way from either Clark to the southeast outer road or southeast outer road up to Clark. You can see that we're building a little, they tell me I can't call it a tunnel, building a little underpass for pedestrian traffic as well. This is the mainline section, what it'll look like. It's kind of what it looks like now out there around Cedar Creek. Pretend you didn't see these lights. We are putting lights in one location, and to make the proposal look better, that's the picture that they brought in. We're only putting them, I think, in one location in the rural part, and that's where we have a sag vertical curve that some lighting would probably help us out. So that's that. I think I've been over that enough. The next ones we're doing are Warrenton to Wentzville. It does include a part of 64 as well. One thing I didn't mention earlier, the $2.8 billion that the governor gave us to add the third lane, we already had this project planned for the connector here at 63. So we took that money and brought it into the program. It didn't make sense for us to add a third lane and then somebody else at a different time under a different project to come in and do that job. We also had money already planned for 54. So we brought that into the program. That's kind of what's happening here on this Warrenton to Wentzville job. They already had plans for the curve realignment, the railroad overpass, adding a third lane to 64. And it's just all so close that they just decided to put it all together and bring that into the I-70 program, even though it's not part of the 2.8 billion. I thought I had a slide that did that. For our project, it's 405 million, 293 million. Well, it's actually the total budget is 420. 293 million of that came out of the 2.8 billion. The other 127, is my math right? Other 127 million is those projects that were already planned for the connector and 54. Yeah, this is not accurate anymore. They're, like I say, they're under contract. The winning team for that is Emery Sapp with Clarkson Construction. Seems odd the St. Louis contractors coming here to work and then a Mid-Missouri contractors going there to work, but that's the way it played out. Blue Springs went to Odessa. They're just kind of getting started. So that's kind of what I got. Yes, ma'am.
Got questions?
Could you mention the timelines in terms of completion, especially around Columbia?
Yeah, the overall completion for the whole thing from Columbia to Kingdom City is the end of 2027. Before we get done with that, we're already going to be starting the process for the rest of Columbia and all that. But yeah, for this first project, Columbia to Kingdom City, December 31st of 2027.
My question is the direct flyovers, in your video, they look like they were single lane.
Yeah, they are.
Single lane.
Yeah, single lane.
When you say that existing lanes would be narrowed, and I believe it says 12 feet, what are they being narrowed from? How much narrowing?
When I said lanes are being narrowed, that was just for the construction side of it. That's what you're seeing out there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the lanes out there right now are 12-foot lanes. The new lanes we're building are all 12-foot lanes as well. On the main line, there will be some lanes that might not be quite 12, like for some decel lanes and some things. But as far as I-70 main line, it's 12. It's 2 12-foot lanes now. It's going to be 3 12-foot lanes in the future. Yeah, the narrowing is so we can give us enough space to build in the median.
We have some online questions. This person says, I'm wondering when the closure to one lane going north on 63 will be finished.
That whole area is expected to take 300 days. That is not only for what we're working on right now. We're working on the southbound bridge right now. When we get it done, we're going to switch traffic over and work on the northbound bridge. We're hoping to get it done quicker than that. But that whole process and the one lane on 63 is set up for 300 days.
Also, any estimate when it will start after Broadway exit instead of just before the exit? The Broadway exit is a mess every day, and traffic cuts through our little unimproved road daily at rush hours.
I'm not sure I fully understand the question. We are monitoring the traffic out there, and for the first few days, it was concerning. It has gotten better. I think people have found their alternate routes, which is possibly what this person is asking about. But we don't have any major changes planned for that. We have to build the southbound bridge, so kind of the only way you can do that is to put all the traffic on the northbound side. So yeah, it's causing some people to go different routes than they normally would have.
I've got a question where you're building the bridge there. On the video, it kind of showed people were turning left, they were going south, and turning right going north. Is there
Which
on the 63 where you're do any underpass there? I'm concerned because that's right where IHOP is. I like to go there.
I didn't see what you were actually.
Is there southbound traffic coming down Conley Lane?
Uh-huh.
Is there gonna be a turn signal there?
I think our plan right now is this, I don't believe there's a signal there right now.
No.
I think it's just stop signs. And I think that's what it'll be in the future, is just stop signs. If it becomes an issue where we need a signal there, we can always do that. But with the amount of traffic there, we believe it'll work with just stop signs. But yeah, people on Connolly will be able to come in from this way or this way. It is a one-way underpass, and it just feeds you directly into the connector.
You have a question?
Okay, why does this take so long is the question. Like I say, we are hoping to get it all done quicker than what we say, but we have to plan for weather. You know, this bridge construction is happening during the winter time. You know, we can in theory we can do one bridge one summer and one bridge the next, but I assure you, we are working as hard as we can to try to get it done as soon as we can. And I hope it does not take 300 days. We're actually building the walls out there right now for the first bridge. I think you'll see some really good progress on that in the very near future. I mean, we have material ordered for the whole bridge. So hopefully it won't take the 300 days. If that's what they're asking about, as far as the 63 bridges, if they're asking about the whole project, it's $405 million, and it's a lot of work. Some pieces we can do quicker. The 54 interchange won't take the full 3 years. I mean, we haven't even touched it yet. We're going to start on it in the spring, and we'll likely be done with it well before 27. But the connector area, there's just so much work and so many bridges that need to be built that it's going to take the full time.
I would add to that, I appreciate that a lot of the work is being done at night, because it would just be impossible any other way. But my question is whether MoDOT and the city of Columbia are working together in any way to address the issues raised by the rerouting of traffic as people learn different patterns to get where they need to go. That obviously changes the situation with some of the city streets in terms of the amount of traffic on them.
Yeah, I don't know that we have a handle on exactly where all that traffic is going. As far as working with the city of Columbia, I don't know that we're working with them on that front. We are working with them on several other things. As far as aesthetics, they city of Columbia, Boone County, I'm not sure who all has money in it, but they have come to the table with some money for aesthetics. They also have applied for and got approved for a cost share to help out to adding some other sidewalks that we don't have planned in our job. The Hinkson Trail, that's another thing we're working with them on. There's been a trail planned for Hinkson underneath all this for years and years. And now that we're doing this project, we're looking at a way to see if we can kind of work together to make that happen. And then they also, I don't know if you're aware, but the city got a grant for Clark Avenue to do a lot of work there. And we're trying as best we can to make all this work, but the timing of it is hard because we already have a design, and the work that they got the grant for on Clark is drastically different than what we had planned to do on Clark. So we're trying to fit all those pieces together. My boss likes to say we're trying to thread the needle, but we're trying to see how we can get all those pieces to work together. But back to your original question about the traffic, I don't think it's gotten to a point where the city of Columbia has come to us and said, "Hey, you're flooding this road or that road." If it does, we'll see what we can do about that at that time.
And another thought about that is that some of the signals need to be readjusted.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking Clark Lane, eastbound traffic in the afternoon rush hour, people wait through 7, 8, 9 signal changes to get through.
Yeah.
There. So
I don't know that that's a result of what we're doing, but I know our traffic people are constantly looking at that and trying to tweak those. Like I say, when we get done, there will be more time to be spread around because we're getting rid of that one signal where the 2 ramps come in there now. We feel like we can change the timing and just the traffic pattern is all going to change. Everything we run, we have computer programs and all kinds of stuff that run the numbers on the traffic, And when we do that, we're not looking at today, we're looking at traffic projected for 2045. And then this is the best solution they came up with for that traffic.
So I have a follow-up clarification question. For all the traffic that's going on Old 63 between Stadium and Broadway, is that going to last 300 days? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I believe so. If you think it is a result of what we're doing on 60, then yeah, that's a 300-day process. Hopefully quicker than that, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Related to traffic, what is the spec for the concrete that'll be used for these travel surfaces? And how does it relate to surrounding states?
I don't know how it relates to surrounding states, but we have specifications of what our concrete has to be. As far as what our proposal includes is how they designed it. It's 11.5 inches thick. But if you're talking the actual material properties of the concrete, it's just MoDOT specification.
The reason I ask this question, and I'm a transplant here, and I see the concrete streets around the streets and roads around here, corners of the slabs are breaking off, and there are places where traffic is needlessly routed long ways on control joints and stuff. And that's just built-in maintenance and problems. And I just wonder, why is that? Because I've never lived anywhere where this happens.
Yeah. We are not blessed with the best aggregate in the world in this part of the state is a big part of it. Not just in this part of the state, but just in Missouri as a whole. When you go some other places that the aggregate is better, especially like in our northwest part of our state, their aggregate is really, really soft, for lack of a better word. And that affects everything. So, our spec it does it the best we can with what we have. So that's probably why some of the difference you're seeing between us and other states. But we are doing some things, we use what's called optimized mixes, where we don't, used to be you had rock, sand, and cement. Now, like the concrete we're putting out here, it has 2 fractions of rock. There's a coarse aggregate, a fine aggregate, a sand, and cement to try to make it a better product. This is really out of my element, so I'm probably not going to give an answer, but I'm going to read the question to you. How much of this funding comes from the bipartisan infrastructure legislation passed by Congress, I believe, in 2022? That would be a difficult question for me to answer. Like I say, the I-70 program is funded by the $2.8 billion that the governor and the legislature gave MoDOT from general revenue. We are bringing in other jobs like the connector project and all that. And as for where that funding comes from and whether it's tied to this, I do not know. The vast majority of it, though, like I say, on this project that I'm working on, $297 million definitely doesn't come from that. I'm a construction guy. I've been building bridges for 30 years, not chasing funding. So I'm probably not the right guy to answer that question. I just know that the vast majority of these funds are coming from the $2.8 billion that the governor and the legislature give us. And the rest of it's coming from jobs that we already had planned called STIP jobs, which are generally 80% federal, 20% state funds. But those are very rough numbers.
I hope this is not another out of your league, because it's not an engineering.
There's a lot of things out of the league, but go ahead.
It definitely is an interstate question. So when this is all said and done in whatever number of years, and we have 3 lanes from end to end, how are decisions made as to when you do and do not allow big trucks in the fast lane?
That is 100% the legislature does that. Yeah, MoDOT does not have the authority to sign lanes as no trucks or all trucks use this. That I'm sure when the legislators want to make that decision, they do ask us for data. But yeah, we as MoDOT couldn't say, hey, no trucks in the inside lane. Now, that's not saying your legislature couldn't tell us to put those signs up, and we will. But that is not something that has to be legislative. They work with us though. They might listen. I don't know.
Just an observation. We went to St. Joe's Saturday, and I noticed they're going west around Choteau Creek. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. It's west of Boonville. And there's about a The westbound lanes are at one elevation, the eastbound lanes are another elevation. I don't know how you can overlay when there's that much difference. I could say it's probably 10 foot. And
Yep.
east of Columbia, there's probably a 7 foot difference in elevation.
We have a little bit of that. And basically what you're gonna end up with is the lanes are, when we fill in the median, all there. And it's some places it has to be what's called mega barrier, which you can only use up to so much. We are lucky in this area that we don't have that 10-foot difference. If you do, you have to either push it out or build some kind of a really tall wall. We don't have that in any others. We have some places where it's a little bit different. And also anytime I don't have a picture of it, but anytime you go around a curve, you end up with that difference as well. Some people call it bifurcation. But basically we put a taller barrier there. It'll still be 42 inches on the short side, but it'll be a lot taller on the other side to be able to still utilize that median. But in those cases you're talking about where that difference is huge, you have two choices. You can either build a wall if you're going to use the median, or you can push the lanes out to be able to deal with that big difference.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you very much. This has been very informative,
Thanks for having me.
and we're getting out a little early today.
Thanks, everyone. And if those in the room want to fill out an optional survey, there's a survey in the back. We appreciate you all being here. We'll be back in December. In December, January. January program. Yes, Como Preservation will be here on January 8th at noon. There'll be a representative from Como Preservation, and we'll hear about all of the work that organization is doing in our community to preserve our historic buildings and spaces. So join us Wednesday the 8th. That'll be again here in this room or on Zoom. Thank you all so much.